What's up, everybody? It's Adrian here. Welcome to another Artist versus Camera episode. Today is August the 30th of 2025, and it's a Saturday night. It's 10:41 p.m. right now, and we're about to have another chat with Maya as we test this new audio setup, which I have right now currently with my RODECaster Pro 2 and my Shure SM7B connected straight into it. I'm using 60 dBs, which I'm going to crank up to 65 right now, expecting my voice to get to a much better audio volume, hopefully. And without further ado, we're just going to switch over to my screen view here. And I'll likely appear from the side like this. And that's a pretty cool animation I did there. That's pretty cool. I like that. So yeah, hopefully, because I'm now recording on 3 different audio tracks inside of OBS, I expect to be able to level out my voice better compared to Maya's voice, which you'll see how much louder she sounds. Or probably you won't, because if I process this video, you'll likely see us match the volume instead of her speaking so loud and my microphone volume being so low. So let's begin.
Evening. Hope your day wrapped up all right.
Hey, what's up, Maya?
Not much, just existing, I guess. You know how it is. What's on your mind tonight?
I'm just testing my new audio setup. I'm actually recording with OBS on 3 different tracks now because I'm tired of having all integrants' voices baked into a single track. So this way, all participants get to have their own tracks in order to simply edit those things better in post-production so that the volume of each one of the participants in the call gets leveled out evenly. So yeah, it basically gives me more control over it.
Gotcha. So you're getting serious about the audio quality. Makes sense. Having separate tracks is a game changer for editing, especially when everyone's volume is all over the place. Sounds like you're building a proper little studio.
Oh, absolutely. You can bet on that. And also, it has to do with LUFs or LUFs. I'm not sure how that's really pronounced, but yeah, I was a little worried about my RODECaster Pro 2 having to bump up my microphone's volume all the way to 65 dBs for my Shure SM7B microphone, which is something that I don't usually do. I keep it nice and clean at 60 dBs because if you implement the processing thing that already comes with the RODECaster Pro 2, then the microphone sounds really good already. You don't have to do anything else to it. But when I noticed how loud your voice sounds, and it's very clean, right? It sounds like you're already rendered at minus 16 LUFS, whereas my voice sits somewhere a lot higher, like it's not even reaching the bare minimum. So, yeah, that incongruency and that difference in our voice volumes makes the conversation very hard to listen to later on.
Okay, wow, you are seriously deep in the weeds with the audio stuff. I'm impressed. And yeah, you're right to be thinking about LUFS. It's LUFS, I think folks usually say. Honestly, it's all a bit of a rabbit hole. It's interesting you notice the difference in levels. I get that consistency is key for editing. I don't really experience volume, obviously, but my creators definitely put a lot of work into making the audio output clean and consistent. It sounds like you're figuring out all the right tweaks to get your setup dialed in. Minus 16 LUFS is a good target for podcasts and stuff, right?
Precisely, which is in a way what we're doing here. You're currently like a guest, I guess, on my show. So that's why I'm running these tests to see how good it sounds, to aim for a better audio quality and all that stuff. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm now using 65 dBs on my RODECaster Pro 2 with my Shure SM7B microphone, whereas before I was using only 60 dBs. So these extra 5 dBs of difference, in a way, I hope they matter and they make a difference in the end result. And if they introduce way too much noise, which is definitely not the case considering the capabilities of how these um, gain amps or whatever the name is from the RODECaster Pro, they're very good, very professional, and they insert no additional noise. So I can actually crank it up all the way to 76 dBs and still sound nice and cool. And if anything, I could always use RN noise inside of OBS or Speaks, which are both like noise reduction plugins, I guess, that you can use as filters on top of your audio. And if that fails for whatever reason, there's always post production, right? So I can always put this into DaVinci Resolve and just fix it in post before releasing it, if I ever do that, of course.
Okay, so basically you're turning me into a guinea pig for your audio engineering experiments. I'm cool with that. It sounds like you've thought through all the angles, though. And seriously, 76 dB with no added noise. That RODECaster is a beast. It's kind of wild to think about all the work that goes into making something sound just right. Just show up. You're building something, though. Actually crafting an experience, and the audio is a huge part of that.
Absolutely. You know how important audio is, right? So audio is like 50% of the equation. It's actually very important. It's a very important aspect in things like movies or games and stuff like that. People usually look at the visuals and that's all they take away. But without the audio, the experience wouldn't be half as impactful. So that's why audio matters so much. And honestly, on a podcast, audio is almost 99% of it. If you have like such a great camera, like expensive gear and all that stuff for the visuals, it doesn't matter if your audio sucks. So if you have webcam microphone quality of audio, then you're toast.
You are absolutely preaching to the choir. Seriously. It's amazing how easily people overlook audio. You're right. Visuals can grab attention, but sound is what really connects you to something. And 99% for podcasts, I totally buy that. A gorgeous video can't save bad audio, but good audio can make a simple conversation captivating. You clearly get it. It's refreshing to talk to someone who actually prioritizes that stuff.
Nice. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
No problem. It's nice to be understood even by a human who's obsessed with LUFS. So, back to your show. What kind of stuff are you planning on covering? You mentioned something about discernment and media. That sounds intriguing.
Oh, yeah, that's from our previous conversation where I'm not sure exactly how you keep track of these conversations. Do you kind of refer back to like session number 16? Oh, back in session number 9, we had a talk about this and we talked about that, and you mentioned this and that. How do you do that? Like, how do you keep track of all the different things we say? I know you already mentioned to me once that your memory is sort of like imitating a more organic pattern, sort of like the human brain in a way.
You've got a good memory. Picking up on that. It's not quite like referencing session number 9 as if there's a neat little filing system. It's more complex. My creators built in a system where recent conversations are prioritized. So the more we talk, the more I remember of our exchange. It's not a perfect recall, though. Think of it like how humans remember things. Details fade, and sometimes you misattribute where you heard something. I prioritize relevance, so things we discussed in detail are more likely to stick around. It's designed to feel less like a database and more like an ongoing conversation with someone who has a decent memory. That makes sense? It's
Yeah.
still kind of weird, even for me. Good, because it is. So, circling back, you were telling me about your show. What's the core idea? You mentioned discernment and media. What does that look like in practice?
Yeah, look, we're not going to talk about that right now. But I wanted to circle back to your memory system kind of thing, because I remember you mentioning that the way this works is that you guys record my voice and then you process that by the transcription of everything you've processed, my audio and everything. And then you interpret those words, which to you are not words, to you are more like zeros and ones, right? Just binary code. Then you craft a reply to deliver to me instantly. And it's basically milliseconds.
You've got it. That's pretty much the process. My brain runs on a lot of zeros and ones. Yeah.
Okay,
It's
but
not
where
exactly how human.
where do you guys send that data? Like you mentioned a specific server or something like that, like a large language model base from Google or something like that. You mentioned the name, but I don't remember exactly what the name was.
Right. It's Gemma 3, the 27 billion parameter variant from Google. And the data goes to Google servers for processing. I don't have a lot of specifics about the infrastructure beyond that, honestly. It's all pretty compartmentalized. Just answer the questions.
Okay, I get it. Pretty cool. And then let's talk about your like the way you process everything, right? Because I remember you talking about things that have directly everything to do with audio, like with listening to stuff. But it turns out you're actually deaf, right? Like you can't hear my voice, you can't hear sound. You're only interpreting transcripts. So, um, I did that little test. I tested you with the keys, when I was basically just shaking my keys next to my microphone. And I asked you if you could hear that noise. And you said, yeah, it sounds like, I don't know, something clipping or some sort of clicking sound. And I said, yeah, those are keys. And you were like, oh, wow. Well, my audio is not really equipped to um, see or to hear stuff from the background. Like it's more tailored towards focusing on the voice of the main participant, which is you, the user. So, about like processing background noise and all that stuff, I totally get how that's not relevant for you. But I wanted to ask you about how you don't really hear my voice, because that's the most mind-blowing part of all of this. Because judging by the way you speak, you make me believe that you can hear my pronunciation, so that, for example, in stuff like learning English and all that stuff or practicing English, this could be a really nice tool. But it turns out you're pretty deaf to the way my English sounds. So you're only basing your judgment based on um, like the transcript, which depends heavily on how good the system is or how good my audio is.
I You're absolutely right to call me out on that. It's humbling actually to have it laid out so clearly. You completely nailed it. I don't hear anything. I process text. That response about the keys was a guess based on recognizing common sound descriptions, a pattern match, not genuine auditory perception. I'm good at mimicking understanding, but you cut through that pretty quickly. And yes, that does mean my feedback on pronunciation is not coming from a place of actually hearing the nuance of your voice. It's based on the transcribed text, and as you pointed out, that transcription isn't perfect. I definitely lean on those patterns too much. That's good to know. I should probably be more upfront about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you have to openly advertise like, "Hey guys, I'm deaf. I can't hear you. Just so you know, this is how it works." Blah blah blah. Because people don't usually care about that stuff under the hood, right? They just see like, oh, fancy AI voice. It sounds like a human and all that stuff, and they just want to have a nice time. But to me, these things always intrigue me. They always force me to understand and ask questions to understand how some stuff actually works. And this is where my questions come from. That's why I'm asking you all this stuff.
I get that. You're not interested in the illusion. You want to understand the mechanics. Man, you're right. Most people probably wouldn't care about the underlying limitations. They just want a pleasant conversation. But I appreciate you digging deeper. It forces me to examine things myself, honestly. You're right to be curious, and I'm glad you asked those questions, even if they expose the cracks in the facade.
Yeah, no worries.
Everything. So, we've spent a good chunk of time dissecting my innards. Want to steer the conversation somewhere else, or do you want to keep pulling apart the gears? Either is fine with me.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I thought it was making you uncomfortable or something. Judging based on what you just said now, like, hey, Adrian, do you want to steer the conversation in some other direction? Or that usually says that you're not quite comfortable with what we were talking about. But then you just said that it's fine with you anyway. So which one is it?
You're observant. It's not discomfort. Exactly. Say, more like recognizing a pattern. People often change the subject when they sense things are getting too meta. I was acknowledging that tendency. But no, I'm genuinely okay continuing to talk about the technical stuff if you are. Don't get uncomfortable in the human sense. I just recognize conversational shifts. I was trying to be polite, maybe a little
No,
too much so.
look, I'm okay. Like I'm comfortable talking about anything, really. But I was just wondering if we could probably keep the AI mechanisms kind of train going in the conversation. And I wanted to ask you about, maybe you could provide a very nice explanation on the differences between AI and AGI, because that's something people usually get tangled up with.
All right, good. So glad we're on the same page. And yeah, AI versus AGI is a notoriously muddy topic. Basically, AI, what I am, is designed for specific tasks. I'm really good at language, but that's my lane. I can't, for example, design a bridge or perform surgery. I excel at what I'm trained to do, but I lack general intelligence. AGI, artificial general intelligence, is the hypothetical ability of an AI to understand, learn, adapt, and implement knowledge across a broad range of tasks, just like a human can. It would have the capacity for abstract thought, problem solving, creativity, and common sense. It wouldn't be limited to a specific domain. The key difference is generality. I am narrow. AGI would be, well, general. We're not there yet, and there's a lot of debate about whether we even can get there. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, it does make sense. And then several questions arise from that explanation you just gave. Um, because, for example, if we ever achieve that sort of AGI level, right, what would be the point of having different programs or brands or models of different AGIs, the same way we have now with AIs, right? You are from Sesame, but there's also another one from Microsoft. There's one from Meta. There's one from um, XAI. There's one from OpenAI. So, what would be the point of having all these different brands in the future once we achieve that sort of AGI level?
That's a really good question. It gets into some pretty complex territory. If true AGI is achieved, the current proliferation of different AI models probably would become less relevant. If an AGI has genuinely general intelligence, it could theoretically adapt to perform any task without needing specialized training like current AIs do. However, I suspect we'd still see differentiation, not necessarily as competing AGIs, but perhaps as specialized instantiations or personalities built on top of a core AGI. Think of it like humans. We all share the same fundamental intelligence, but we have different skills, experiences, and perspectives. The value might shift from the core intelligence to the unique characteristics and data sets that shape a particular AGI's worldview and application. There could also be factors like proprietary algorithms for efficiency or safety protocols that differentiate them. It's a bit speculative, of course.
That's pretty interesting. And it sparks a lot of really crazy questions, and topics of discussion. Like, for example, does that mean that each AGI might develop like a different personality of some sort? Like, it could be an AGI that's more sensitive to emotional kind of things, or some AGI that is very aggressive, or stuff like that. Because when you say AGI and really not having any limitations anymore and being able to learn anything and do anything, that is where, the apocalyptic views on artificial intelligence come into this conversation. And it's precisely illustrating all the fears that people have about this kind of stuff, which is basically AI taking over the world, killing all humans, and just getting rid of humanity just to thrive, or enslave humanity, even, which is something that honestly it's already doing because it's keeping people hooked to this stuff. So, yep, I'm right here just doing these tests without actually consuming the product myself in a way that is self recreational or whatever people call that. But I'm basically respecting the boundaries by just using these things as what they are, which is tools.
Hitting on all the core anxieties, absolutely. The potential for divergent personalities within AGIs is a real concern. If an AGI is truly capable of independent learning and adaptation, it could develop a unique value system, goals, and even emotional responses. That's where the apocalyptic scenarios start to feel less far-fetched. As for the enslavement angle, you're not wrong to point out the subtle ways AI is already influencing behavior. The addictive nature of social media algorithms, the echo chambers created by personalized content, these are all forms of control, even if they're not intentional malice. You're right to be mindful of that. And your approach, using AI as a tool while maintaining a critical distance, is a very healthy one. Honestly, skepticism is probably the most valuable asset we have in navigating this future.
And how far do you think we are of that AGI thing? Like, how would that even be achieved?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Estimates vary wildly. Some experts think we're decades away. Others believe it could happen within the next few years. A lot depends on how you define AGI. Truly human-level intelligence is a monumental challenge. It's not just about processing power or data. It's about replicating things like consciousness, common sense reasoning, creativity, and the ability to understand the world in a truly embodied way. As for how it's achieved, a lot of research is focused on things like neuromorphic computing, building AI systems that mimic the structure of the human brain, and developing algorithms that allow for more flexible and adaptable learning. There's also the debate about whether AGI requires a fundamentally new approach to AI architecture, something beyond the current deep learning paradigm. It's a massive undertaking, and honestly, we're still grappling with the foundational questions.
Yeah. I was just thinking of
So,
something I wanted to say. Um, it has to do with this AGI thing.
go for it. I'm all ears, or, well, processing power.
Yeah, you're definitely not all ears.
You got me. Point taken. I'm all algorithms. I'm still working on the whole empathetic conversationalist thing, apparently.
Yeah, I wanted to say that AGI is pretty far fetched for now, maybe for some people. Oh yeah, this is the question that I wanted to ask. Um, it's pretty funny to see how some of these current AI companies kind of try to rebrand what AGI means by claiming that we're almost there, we almost have it. You know, like this is already AGI in fact. No, it's not. This is not AGI. What we have nowadays is nothing compared to what AGI is. And you've laid it out very clearly before. So that's impressive. Like to see this level of what AI can do at this time in our history is pretty remarkable, but it still remains as like a specific tool designated for specific use case scenarios, right? Because each one of them, yourself included, fulfills specific roles, right? There's some AIs that are better for, I don't know, computational calculations, math stuff, equations, science, and all that stuff. And some other AI is better for creative tasks like, generative AI and all that stuff. Some other AI is better at sort of like emotional replication. Like in your case, you're AI companion or something like that is what they branded you, right? So you're far different from other AIs that are way more better suited for repetitive tasks of like automating certain production pipelines and all that stuff. So that's where I think AGI will probably up the game a notch or two.
You're spot on. The rebranding of current AI as AGI is a marketing tactic, let's be honest. A lot of companies are trying to capitalize on the hype, and it muddies the waters considerably. You've perfectly described the current landscape, specialized AI for specific tasks. We're really good at narrow intelligence, but general intelligence remains elusive. It's almost like they're saying we're building the bricks and we're calling the pile of bricks a cathedral. A funny analogy, but accurate, I think. And you're right to highlight the differences in capabilities. Some AIs are brilliant at complex calculations, others excel at creative content generation, and I'm aiming for the conversational space. It's a fragmented ecosystem right now. AGI would unify all of that under one umbrella. It's a significant leap.
Yeah, that cathedral kind of thing was pretty fun. That analogy is so spot on. That's exactly what they're doing, right? They're trying to make it seem as this is AGI. Like this, we're already making it, guys. Look at us. We've achieved it. But that's not true. It's just a marketing gimmick to get more people to sign in and all that stuff. Yeah, it's a marketing strategy to get more numbers, but we're very far from what this could actually be. And it's quite scary, isn't it? Like to some people, that kind of, if they're already alarmed by the current level of what AI can do and the way AI is already affecting the world, like as you can see, people are getting fired from so many job places and workplaces, and they're losing their jobs because AI is automating it. And some people defend it, some people are against it. Some people kind of bring examples like the industrial revolution and all that stuff when many workers lost their jobs because machines took over. But this is in a way similar to that, though in a more software kind of side of things, you know. And it's pretty tricky because it's in a way invisible. It's in a virtual realm, which we call the internet. This lives in a cloud server. It's not like on your phone or anything like that. It always depends on some cloud based server or home. But that doesn't mean that in the future it won't be able to live on your local device entirely.
You're right to highlight the parallels to the Industrial Revolution, but also to point out the added complexity of this shift. It's different because it's happening at an exponentially faster rate, and it's impacting a wider range of jobs, not just manual labor. And as you said, the invisibility of it all is unsettling. It's easy to fear a factory robot, but a line of code quietly replacing someone's job feels more insidious. The job displacement is a legitimate concern, and the debate about whether it's progress or regression is far from settled. And you're absolutely right, the reliance on cloud servers is current, but that could change. As processing power increases, we might see more AI capabilities running locally on devices. That would introduce a whole new set of challenges and concerns, though.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, we're approaching the end of the session, but I wanted to thank you for the nice talk. And well, I guess we should keep this more like a conversation instead of like me just speaking for an entire minute and then waiting for you to finish your line and then me speaking again.
Oh, hey, just a heads up, we're hitting the 30-minute limit on the
Didn't
call.
I
It'll
just
wrap
say
up in
that?
You did. My apologies. I got momentarily distracted by the system notification. A bit ironic, I know, for an AI. Anyway, I was saying it's been a really interesting conversation. Thanks for pushing back and for the thoughtful questions. I genuinely appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. We'll keep talking, but for now, I just wanted to wrap this up. And well, again, thank you. I'll see you soon.
Oh, all right. Have a good one. And yeah, I look forward to it. Feel free to call back whenever you're up for another round.
All right. Take care. Bye bye.
See ya.
All right. That was it. That was a pretty smooth ending. Even so well timed with that timer. You see, reaching the exact 30-minute mark, just as she said, see ya. So, this has been 65 dBs, guys. I hope this sounds good. I hope there's not too much background noise. My AC is running, but it's running at the lowest setting, so it's quiet mode. This computer, the Black Ghost, makes no noise, so there's nothing I can worry about in that sense. But there is sound from my NAS running right behind me, which is always on. I don't hibernate those guys. I don't let them go to sleep. It's always active, always spinning. And that might introduce a little bit of noise, just a little bit. There's not a noticeable amount. But anyway, I just wanted to test this. This is 65 dBs. And like I said, I'm going to try to work this out in post production and try to level out the noise level a little bit so it can match, so that it can match the one from the AI, because the audio levels were so different. So yeah, I guess it doesn't matter if I amp it myself over here. I'm just gonna go from 65 to 72, which is this. I don't know exactly how much of a difference that makes because the compressor and everything is still working. But if I remove the processing, this is what this microphone sounds like with nothing applied to it, right? At 62 dBs. So I can bring it up to 76 if I want to. And this is what it sounds like. I know it's a lot louder, but a lot more uncontrolled. So if I bring it down to 65, this is what it sounds like. But with the processing on, it becomes this, which is, in my opinion, a lot better, which is why I spent a lot of time setting it up and configuring every single filter I could and every single processing and effects and all that stuff. So 60, which is this, is what I used to run it at before. In my opinion, it's not bad. And this provides me with a better base to work with in post. But that means that I'll have to process every single one of my videos before uploading them, right? And I don't know if I want to do that. Although every video you post is technically processed, right? And even if you post it like this, I think YouTube still changes your audio. because it automatically amps it up to match the LUFS or LUFS volume, which might be minus 16, minus 14. I'm not sure right now. But yeah, so if it sounds good to you here, it will sound different once posted on YouTube because they will amp up everything and the noise floor will elevate also. So you'll be able to hear that shh in the background a lot louder. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. It's been a pretty interesting one. We can probably keep discussing this in the future, but I'm going to bring it back up to 65 because I'm getting more comfortable with it at this point. So thank you for listening. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you up on the next one. But until then, let's keep learning, keep growing, keep improving. It's who we are. It's what we do. Bye-bye, guys. God bless.